Solo tanking and less frequent peel made flanking heroes more effective. Along with their strong performance on certain maps and game modes like Push and Flashpoint, this is less of a concern with the introduction of map voting and hero bans, which help limit overperformance. That's the most concerning sentence I think I've seen in a patch note ever. So basically, we're going to make them overperform, and screw you, ban it. So if Tracer becomes a perma-ban, Sombra becomes a perma-ban, Freya becomes a perma-ban, it looks like Doomfist and Bull are perma-ban because nobody wants to play against that. It really is going to be just choose which situation you want to be in. We're being self-aware and lampshading the issue, so it's fine. We know what we're doing, it's fine. See, the thing with bans is bans are great for providing you extra leeway in terms of your balancing, right? They're really good for giving you a little bit of extra breathing room in order to fix things slower. Do you know what Blizzard did? They saw that extra breathing room and was like, we can fill that up. And so they immediately were like, oh, we got a load of space of stupid design to fill. Let's just push people into it. Why not? The year is 2030. The DPS passive has been increased from 85 to 90%. Healing reduction now lingers for 15 seconds. Lucio's aura passive healing is 500 points per second. Blizzard just released Overwatch 4, which is now an auto battler. All heroes now operate exactly the same, and they all have grenades. Firestrike now travels back in time to hit the target before you press the button. The technology is called pre-scan. But one man remains to complain like there is no other. How are we doing? Do you have these written down? No, that was ad-lib. Is that good? Hello. I thought I'd come on and complain about the patch notes, because people seem upsetty spaghetti, which is a little bit sad. Right, so people seem to think this isn't great. I don't know what's in there. I saw something about Reaper and Tracer being buffed. Obviously, we already know 30% DPS passive. Yay, 30% DPS passive. So much fun. Cool. That's entertaining and engaging. Yes. Let's have a look-see. Season 17 powered up. Stadium Overwatch 2's dynamic round-based PvP mode continues to evolve. I do not care. Over in core modes, the fight expands with a new Flashpoint battleground and the debut of map voting, giving you the power to choose where the action unfolds. Okay, so we're never doing Rialto again. Understood. We're never doing any high ground dive maps ever, or any poke focus maps, because, I mean, I don't want to play that, so I guess we never will again, and Blizzard will never fix them to make them more reasonable. Show off your style, don't care. Okay, yeah, nothing about this is for me. Everyone knows I don't care about skins, so I think we can just continue straight past. 4 epic loot boxes, wow. Okay, so new core gameplay map. Atlas. Welcome to the hub of trade and artistry. The stunning new Flashpoint map shows off the beauty and culture of Morocco. From a high-end resort to a historical artisan guilds, it has it all. And when you're ready for the next destination, hitch a ride on the high-tech Hyperloop rail that can take you anywhere. Is that in the map? Interesting. I haven't actually looked at the trailer. I am blind on that one. Hacks and hijink mode flips the script every round with rotating match modifiers that twist gameplay in wild, unpredictable ways. I'm sure the people that play 1 hour a week will really enjoy that. It's not for me. Low gravity jumps, that sounds like hell. Ultimate charge granting health packs. Other way around? Health packs granting ultimate charge? Question mark? Yeah? Wrong way around? Yeah, they probably put it the wrong way around. Anyway, not for me. I hope people enjoy it. I'm glad they're putting out arcade modes still. They're fun. For some people, not for me. I just like playing the video game, man. Just make my video game good. Match modifiers? Who cares? Map voting is a feature that gives players more agency about what map they prefer to play on. At the start of every quick play or competitive match, free maps will appear, and each player will not vote for the high ground maps, because nobody wants to play that crap. Free maps will appear, and we will choose not to pick. What maps do you think are never going to be played anymore, right? I guess we can go in a queue for Overwatch. What's happening with their servers? They are not picking up that many players. That's got to be broken, right? So Peninsula, people aren't going to vote for that one. You might get to play a little bit of Peninsula if it's paired against bad maps. The rest of the Control will probably be fine. People generally like Control. Maybe Samoa will be voted out. I'm looking. Circuit, nobody's ever going to play Circuit again. Nobody's ever going to play Havana again, nor Junkertown. So those 3 maps are just outside of the map pool now. People won't vote for the new map. Yeah, well, that is a standard thing that happens when new maps get introduced to any game. Nobody wants to vote for them. I think Flashpoint is generally liked at this point. Iconvolt, I don't think Iconvolt's going to get voted in. Numbani, we're never going to see Numbani again. That's probably a good thing. Hollywood's probably going to see a little bit of the brunt of it. Maybe Colossea's got a little bit of leftover resentment from before Clash. Clash. Okay, so that's all of it. So there's at least 5 maps there that we're just never going to see again. So that's good, question mark? The maps are still RNG based, with the player being able to influence the RNG. Interesting that they went that way with it, considering that they've done the opposite of the rival system with the hero bans. Interesting that they make it RNG based for that. Colosseum seems beloved in its current state. I haven't heard much good things about it. Now, the question is whether Blizzard are going to fix the maps that get voted out a lot, or realistically, are they going to leave them and be okay with them getting just banned out? I don't know whether they're going to fix them or not. We'll have to see. I think it's a lot less of a problem than heroes, because map changes are something that I think Blizzard, they can do a lot easier without disrupting communities, if you get what I mean. Hero changes kind of like always cause an uproar. Map changes are generally seen as probably okay-ish, and then there's a couple of weirdos like me that are generally against some of the changes that they do. So yeah. Level designer seems hyped to fix maps. Yeah, well, hopefully they continue fixing them at the same rate. Realistically, this won't increase my enjoyment of the game, because I actually think the weird maps, right, Nambani and Circuit, I think they actually provide quite a lot of value to me in terms of the variety of experience, and I don't really want to see them banned. Now, realistically, what we're doing with map bans is we're giving people 2 chances to ban Widow, right? They can ban them on the map ban screen, or they can ban them in game. So that's why we buffed Widow before, because Widow's never going to be in a game again, and they're never going to fix it probably, but you know, it's fine. Okay, so maps with more votes are more likely to be selected, but maps with less votes can still be selected if the role lands on one of the votes for the maps with less votes. If players vote overwhelmingly for a single map, is automatically selected. After map voting in competitive play, the hero ban phase will begin. Well, at least we're going to get a bit more King's Row. New report tool called Emergency is now added to the report tool and can be accessed in all areas. What is this? You can report instances of social communication that implies a threat of extreme harm to another person or a group of persons. So no gamer words, guys. False reporting from other players using these categories may result in actions. Oh, that's good that there'll be actions issued to the people false reporting. Because if you give a higher extremity of, I'm guessing this is the manual review button. What do you think? I feel like this is a manual review button, but it's only for threats, essentially. Another person or group of persons. So do you think hate speech would be covered under the emergency button? Like, you know how bad it can get. Do you think the F word would be covered, right? Do you think the imply the threat? No, it's not. It's not vague in general. I think it's just like any specific threat would be, yeah. Slurs and racial slurs? It doesn't look like slurs and racial slurs are covered. Anyway, it looks... I'm actually glad that this exists, because before there was no system to get a person, a human. Yeah, there's the death threat button. The death threat button. Send the death threat button after them. Endorsement scoring. Do I care about this? Has been updated to be more dynamic and to improve the accuracy of the system. Who cares? Sure. Yeah. Excellent. These scoring system updates may cause endorsement level to be more volatile. We'll see. I don't care about this, but let's continue. And we're on to the patch notes. Okay, so we already knew these two were happening because Custer spilled the beans. Thank you, Custer, for entering the design team. Damage roll passive healing reduction increased from 25 to 30%. Terrible. Really bad. Significantly hates on certain types of healing more than other types of healing. Nerfs the high end of characters like Anna and characters like Juno, while also nerfing characters like Zen more. See, that's the weird thing there. You bring down the top, but you also bring down the bottom, and bringing down the bottom affects the bottom end more than it does the top end. So supports that have a little bit of healing have to heal bot more, and supports that have less healing do nothing. Great, excellent. No healing pressure at all in my video game. I hate healing pressure. That sucks. I guess I may as well remind everyone that the reason why we went to the damage roll passive at the start was to prevent tanks going infinite, because if tanks can go infinite, then the enemy team have to counter the enemy tank in order to stop them going infinite. So it was the kind of thing where tanks would, if they weren't countered, go infinite on healing. When I say infinite, I mean their healing is more than the damage and just run over the enemy team. Or alternative to that, the tank would be countered and do literally nothing if they went negative. Now the tanks have been given more stuff, but they have to use that stuff in a burst. Now, I consider that to be the most inelegant system I've ever seen. It does make it a lot easier for Blizzard to balance. Basically, they've given themselves, I'd say, a 30% easier thing to do, but realistically, it sucks for the supports. I mean, playing DPS players are going to feast, but, like, do you want to feast by just turning off the enemy team's healing? I don't think is good. Base health regeneration timer increased from 5 to 6 seconds. These changes are intended to broadly increase the impact of damage roll heroes and slightly reduce the amount of healing sustain felt in moment-to-moment gameplay. Literally, how does this do this? How did this do this? Base health regen timer increased from 5 to 6. What? Like how? What? But how does that fill your goal? What does it mean? How do they release it and still not explain? Did Custard copy and paste the explanation from here, from his developer note? The enemy being healed while I missed them for 5 seconds. Yeah, it's so oppressive. The enemy taking, what, 11 seconds to be healed back up to full instead of 10 previously. Oh, it's so oppressive. Why? Just why? Flankers and dive tanks feel this? Yeah, for the most part, flankers and dive tanks. It's just very weird, isn't it? And is that sustain? I guess it is sustain in a way, especially for Bull, but Junker Queen. So Custer already spilled some beans on Junker Queen. He says something to do with Junker Queen's shout giving more health to allies, right? And therefore it being more aggressive, which I think is what he said. Commanding Shout has been updated to provide stronger team utility and improve its overall impact. The adjustments reward well-timed use by increasing survivability for both Junker Queen and her allies. The reduced cooldown for Junker Queen is a double-edged sword. She doesn't have the speed boost for as long, but the cooldown rotation is quicker since the cooldown begins once the effect ends. Her overhealth increased to 200. Allied overhealth increased to 75. Duration for self reduced to 4. Allied duration increased to 4. So it's just made her more brawly, right? Just straight more brawly. I think the self health doesn't matter at all. So this is just like a straight really strong buff. 25, so that's an extra 50% health onto allies. That's a lot, man. Right, that is a lot. Overhealth increased to 200. Like you're never letting your overhealth decay anyway. So what does it matter? Because if you're gonna shout, you're gonna run in on Junker Queen. It's gonna make peeling a lot better, but at the same time, at least they haven't made it so that there's no reason to aggress on it. I was worried that they just increase the cooldown at the same rate, right? Make it so that it heals your allies more and increase the cooldown so you can never use it aggressively. At least it's as aggressive as before. This is just a straight, really strong buff to Junker Queen. Cooldown is now 1 second quicker. That's kind of a sneak buff. That is a sneak buff. I consider that to be biasing her towards more aggression, though, if it's a shorter cooldown. What is the cooldown on that at the moment? You say 14 seconds? I'm going to fact check you, Reactionary. Oh, Reactionary. You guys okay? That's not what that says. Please? 6v6, 14? Okay. Yeah, the standard 6v6 is the worst game mode because they keep increasing the cooldowns on it for no reason. Okay, so 12 seconds. That's a reasonable. That's a 10%. Man, that's a lot of Junker Queen buffs. At least it makes it a little bit more aggressive. Okay, I don't like it, but it's fine. It's just a really big... I'm really worried that this defensive buff is going to make it so that she's way too brawly. This is going to be really good in 6v6. Like, really good. All right. Mauga. Berserker overhealth conversion has been reverted to restore some of Mauga's durability to a more balanced state following previous changes. Overhealth conversion rate increased from 40 to 50%, so that's on crits. That's a standard passive, nothing to do with... nothing to do cardiac overdrive. That's a reasonable buff to Mauga. Reasonable. He was blowing up a little bit fast. I feel like he'll still blow up a little bit fast once he's out of armor, but at least he can sustain himself in his armor a little bit more. Queen's a feast or famine hero now in 6v6. You shout right, you win, fuck up, and it's genuinely over. I mean, it's a straight buff though, right? Like, it's a straight buff, so it's not like it's more punishing than it was before. It's less punishing, and also it's more effective, right? Healing per second increased from 50 to 75 on Ram. Now, Light Repair's healing per second has been increased to enhance its consistency and overall effectiveness during the short cooldown of Ravenous Vortex. So essentially what's happening is they're increasing its healing per second by 50%. Now that is 5% down on what it was before, because we're going to assume that Ram's always going to be affected by the DPS passive. So it's been realistically increased by like 40%. Rather than 50. Was Nanite Repair really struggling? It's a lot more sustain, right? The alternative is obviously the 50 damage instant burst in the air one. The trouble with Ram in 6v6 is cooldowns are so long that he can't really sustain himself and he needs to like back out continuously. Should I just made it a short cooldown? Yeah, probably just made it a short cooldown. It's just the worst option. Yeah, the aggressive 50 damage is a lot, right? Is a lot of extra damage. The idea is to give Ram a side grade where he can have the big shield and he can have the Nanite Repair and then he can just sustain. The trouble is these like small buffs to this stuff is going to make it so that eventually Ram will head to the point where they can basically go infinite off sustain. Healing make me go happy? Okay. It's fine-ish, no real big issues. It's a little bit, I don't like sustain in general. I don't like sustain being buffed, but that's the only real problem. The Ram chick make want to end it all. Like straight up, this this change. You cannot have Nanite Repair be viable when Vengeful exists, and if Nanite Repair is viable, they fuck something up with the balance. Yeah, I think that's right. I think the other one needs to come down, right? I think the damage is too good to pass up, and the Nanite Repair would need to be at such a level that it was really boring to play against if that was the thing that was better, right? I think that's pretty obvious. Only useful if you're hard brawling with something like Reinhardt, so you chuck it down at his feet, or if you're just hard poking. It's good for trying to catch with form. I mean, if you're waiting on a corner, you shield yourself around a corner, you can always vortex, run into the vortex, and keep yourself in armor, right? Like, that's fine. It's fine to do. Like, there are aggressive use cases of it. It's not just sustain, but like, it's still heat and creep, right? We don't like that. Zarya, Spotter and Graviton Crush receive targeted buffs to improve their effectiveness and ensure they remain viable choices alongside their counterpart perks. So Graviton Crush is the grav damage dealt over time of 30% max health, right? That increases to 40%. It's just horribly boring to me, right? Like, you either pick Jumpies or you pick Grav Crush. The only reason people don't pick Grav Crush is because Jumpies is more fun for the most part on most maps. It's very rare that Jumpies actually gives you mobility that you can't have by setting up with normal Jumpies, right? Like, don't get me wrong, you can get out some you can go a little bit deeper because you can Jumpy out of it. You can do a little bit of more like interesting stuff with Jumpies, but realistically 30% I think was always like straight better for most ranks at the very least. 40% is, I mean, people are just going to die and grab. I mean, it's just what it is. Spotter. So that's the buff to bubble. Movement speed increased from 15 to 25. Let's have a look. Activates ally health regeneration. That was the other effect. I knew there was another effect on it. Yeah, 25% on a Genji's pretty damn good. 25% on a Reaper's pretty damn good. That's a real good buff. Was Spotter not being used? What was the other? Energy Lance. Was Energy Lance being used more? I mean, you don't have the numbers, so I guess lower ranked players might have been picking Energy Lance more. I can't understand why people would use Energy Lance over Spotter. I mean, Energy Lance, don't get me wrong, Energy Lance is really interesting in 6v6, I actually think. But even when you don't have a duo, Spotter is just better. So you got this weird thing, right? You've got the lower ranked thing where you just shoot things, and lower ranked people will pick the just shoot things and do damage perk. Versus the I'm in a duo, I'm doing something cool with the duo perk. So it's an adaptation perk in my mind, this one. 5v5 Spotter wasn't used as often. It was ridiculous at 15%. Are you sure? Are people just am I just out of the loop? 15% is still really strong for a bubble. Spotter is hard to use properly, so it wasn't being used. I mean, it's not really that. This is obscene for 6v6 as well, like completely obscene for 6v6. 25% is crazy. That's going to make the game a lot less interesting to play. I already think the perks are generally bad in 6v6 and make my experience worse for the video game. I think 25% extra speed on Reinhardt running at me is like, I'm very concerned that we haven't seen any 6v6 specific patches since, I think, the patch after 6v6. And it's starting to feel like we're never going to get any. It's starting to feel abandoned, isn't it? Let's be honest, guys. I don't know why it's so hard to do separate patches for 6v6 or things that are healthy for that mode. Maybe they just consider it to be a non-serious goofy mode so they don't care, but we were supposed to get them in Season 16, yeah. Spotter's gonna just dominate in 6v6, just absolutely dominate. And 40% max health on Grav and Spotter is just crazy. Okay, Bastion. Bastion's survivability is impacted by the large size of its model. Despite its high health and armor pool, reducing the model and hit volume by 10% improves its ability to avoid damage and overall balance. We've already talked about this. I think it makes him more similar to other heroes. I think part of the fun of the hero was the fact that the hero could be a big tank guy. I think that was actually interesting about him. So I don't really have much more to say about the Bastion. I think it's generically bad because it just brings everything towards the middle. I don't think it's interesting. I think it's good for balance though. Reducing the spread of Echo's Tri-Shot improves its effectiveness at range, making it a more consistent option for a highly mobile hero. So primary fire spread decreased. So it's another one of those nickel and dime buffs. I don't understand the Echo buff. I'll tell you what the Echo buff is, Satan. Kiriko's kunais have been increased in speed. Genji shurikens have been increased in speed. Phara's rockets have been increased in speed. Reaper spread has been decreased. Echo spread has been decreased. It's another 5v5 creep change. Basically, when you remove a tank, you remove the value you can get from shooting tanks, because shooting tanks in the 5v5 format is just a degenerate thing to do. They have to make it better at dueling, and so all spreads have to decrease and all projectiles have to speed up. It's just a thing they've been doing continuously. It's another one of the creeps that are making the game less interesting by default. The slow projectiles are meant to zone areas and spam out chokes. That's kind of like what they're meant for. And Blizzard at some point when they went to 5v5 just said, well, we don't like shelling areas and spamming out chokes. It's just one of those things, right? So this is one of those creeps that just is going to make 6v6 generically worse, right? It's going to make Echo better at dueling when Echo was a lot more of a character that relied on being at slightly closer range and hitting the stickies in order to duel. It's going to be a little bit, it's going to be a little bit. It's just one of those like nickel and dime, right? You just take a thin chisel at the corner of my game over and over and over again until the game is generic, generalish slop. I think the trouble with Bastion is just that they've decided that, see, Bastion could just be fixed by having self-repair. That's a simple part. It's like it's one of the heroes that unlocks their actual like true base form by having perks because they took away the true base form at some point. Like Mercy just lacks her true base form until she gets a major perk, and so does Bastion, and so does, let's be honest, Torbjorn, right? Torbjorn lacks the actual power in the kit until you get the major perk. It's just one of those. Helix shields, shield health regeneration triggers when landing direct hits with rockets. I was quite happy about the shields, and I'm quite happy about Echo shields because it reduced their dependence on other heroes. But sorry, I'm just pulling 25s, 125. What is the speed? What is the speed of shield regen? I thought it was like 20-30 per second, right? That's his 30 health. The AI overview is probably right here because skimming the entire internet, but it says 3 seconds, so that's really strong. Like, that's really strong, isn't it? They probably want people to not take the don't die during barrage perk. Yeah, but the don't die during barrage perk's really good. It's just the thin end of the wedge everywhere, man. The don't die during barrage is a very good perk. I don't mind it too much, specifically because it's the point of this choice was, do you want raw power or do you want to be independent, right? And I guess the independence wasn't strong enough to get people to pick the independence, despite the fact that they weren't independent some of the time, or they had to be independent. The don't die during barrage perk was the thing that allowed her to be not a suicide button. Yeah. And I'm also thinking, when I play against Phara and I see the don't die during ultimate button, I always think it's absolute horseshit. I never feel like it's fair to go up against the ult that moves, right? At least, like, she seems to blow up half the cast and then survive every single time with that perk. So I don't have a problem with their buffing the other one, but I don't know, it's a lot of sustained. I guess I'm not really that. It's paired against something that's straight power. And it's not really that much straight power. It just gives a lot of ability to survive. And direct hits are a little bit hard. You think, when are you landing a direct hit on somebody without being shot at, right? Maybe it's not that bad. I will also note that shield health regeneration is not affected by DPS passive, I'm pretty sure. So that shield health regeneration there won't be cut down by 30%, so it will heal the full 30 per second. I wonder if the rockets from ult count as direct hits, continuously reactivating your shields. Part of the reason heroes like Reaper and Tracer had their damage reduced in the past was due to the shift to the 5v5 format. Solo tanking and less frequent peeling made flanking heroes more effective. Along with their strong performance on certain maps and game modes like Push and Flashpoint, this is now less of a concern with the introduction of map voting and hero bans, which help limit overperformance. So we're restoring some of their damage potency. So let's start at the top, right? Reaper and Tracer were nerfed for different reasons in terms of their damage output. Tracer was partially nerfed for the damage output onto tanks, but Reaper wasn't nerfed due to the damage output onto DPS. He was nerfed due to the damage output onto enemy tanks and the ability to just commit rampant tank hate. That was the main reason why we nerfed Reaper back in the day, which, sure, Tracer had a little bit of that, but the main part for Tracer was that they were really good on flanking. Solo tanking and less frequent peel made flanking heroes more effective. Yes, of course, but I don't think Reaper really was a flanking hero. He was, obviously, but that's not really why he got nerfed. Along with their strong performance on certain maps and game modes like Push and Flashpoint, this is less of a concern with the introduction of map voting and hero bans, which help limit overperformance. So we are no longer doing our job. You now have to do it for us. It's the second one. I called it. I mean, I called it, guys, that they just gave up. That's the most concerning sentence I think I've seen in a patch note ever. Oh, yeah. Oh, limit overperformance, right? So basically, we're going to make them overperform, and screw you, ban it. That's basically what they're saying. This isn't even twisting it. It's straight up saying skill issue, should have banned the map. Well, I said last time with the Widow changes, I was a canary in the coal mine. You know all those comments on my Widow video like, well, the Venom Mine perk doesn't really do anything. The 14 damage isn't really that good. And I'm like, it's a principle, guys. It's a principle that we should be mad at. What did I miss? Hi, Greed. By the way, Greed, I need to respond to your video on support damage creep because your take's wrong. I need to respond to you. I've got some interesting stuff to say to that shortly in the future. This is now less of a concern with the introduction of map voting and hero bans, which help limit overperformance, so we're restoring some of their damage potency. Tracer, damage increase from 5.5 to 6. Reaper, damage increase from 5.4 to 5.75. It's not a massive buff to Reaper, but Reaper already was pretty good. Fuck. Man. They really have just given up. So if you ever don't ban Tracer now, you're going to have a terrible experience. If you don't ban Reaper, Reaper's going to be really good. What map do you ban Tracer on, I guess is my question. What map are you expecting us to ban Reaper on? Like, what are we... 6 damage Tracer with 225 supports is going to be painful. Man, how many times are they going to revert Tracer to 6 damage per shot and then think it's not going to be bad? Why don't they just go to 5.7 if they want a buffer? Why all the way up to 6? Why? Why? Why would you give her a straight 10% buff of damage? Oh yeah, and DPS Passive. Mark's right. Don't forget about the DPS Passive being better. Round numbers good. Nobody knows the round numbers. You get a random person, they won't know it. Blizzard allergic to learning. Oh man. When do you ban Tracer? Every map other than Circuit. Oh man. So if Tracer becomes a perma ban, Sombra becomes a perma ban, Freya becomes a perma ban, it looks like Doomfist and Bull are perma ban because nobody wants to play against that shit. It really is gonna be just choose which shit situation you want to be in. Choose what absolute bullshit you want to go against, isn't it? You can only permaban 2 of a row. Yay! So somebody's going to miss the Tracer ban, and Tracer's just going to completely stomp a lobby. And that's just going to be the situation, is it? Why? We fixed Sombra being permaban by making more heroes cancel that need to be permaban. Excellent! You fixed everything. Good job, guys. Tracer's getting back some of the damage she lost due to past format and map concerns. Looks like she's recalled back to stronger bullets. Again. Yeah, we're being self-aware and lampshading the issue, so it's fine, right? Oh, look, we know what we're doing. It's fine. Don't worry, guys. It's fine. You can't just lampshade crap and then just be like, it's happening. Woo-hoo. One of my issues with bans is there'll never be enough bans to actually fix any problem. Just avoidance or banning heroes that are problematic for your planned hero pick. See, the thing with bans is bans are great for providing you extra leeway in terms of your balancing, right? They're really good for giving you a little bit of extra breathing room in order to fix things slower. Do you know what Blizzard did? They saw that extra breathing room and was like, we can fill that up. And so they immediately were like, oh, we got a load of space of stupid design to fill. Let's just push people into it. Why not? This change improves Venture's damage output by increasing fire rate, enhancing weapon consistency without increasing the lethality of a combo. Recovery time reduced to 0.6. That's quite a big buff. I think that's a healthy buff, though. What if we buff Brig and Cassidy to deal with the Tracer? I know what we should do. We should make it so that Brig can heal more. That's going to be a great... Oh, yeah, Brig can heal more. Maybe we should put more health in Cassidy, right, Squid? That would be a good one. Yeah, I think it's a good Venture buff. I don't really have a problem with that. When are they going to remove the camera lock on Drill? That's a real buff they need to add. I think the camera lock on Drill's fine. Health is kind of weak, maybe armor. Hey, you can stay. I like you. Successfully cleansing a buff now reduces Life Grip's cooldown, improving the usefulness of cleansing Grasp when timed well. Life Grip cooldown reduced by 4 seconds if a debuff is cleansed. So nobody picked that anyway, and nobody will continue to pick that. What's the Life Weaver cooldown on live? There you go, 18 seconds. Ain't nobody picking that to get it back in 14 seconds. Come on, Blizzard. Come on, nobody's picking that. Nobody's doing that. Do you know what I'm gonna pick? I'm gonna pick my incredibly OP 10 health per second permabuff, right? It's actually really good getting 10 health per second. That's what I'm gonna continue to pick, let's be honest. And everyone else is too. Everyone here knows what we've done to our Life Weaver in order to make it more interactive. What we did is over 75% health, it refunds your cooldown to 10 seconds, allowing you pre-fight to set up or pull someone into an angle before something bad happens to them. So we're giving it an incentive to be used aggressively and therefore possibly be off cooldown when it needs to be used defensively. We're making it more aggressively focused, and that makes it less annoying to deal with, and sure, you're still going to get pulled pulled around, but at least when you're being pulled around, you're going to be pulled around more often outside of combat. And I think we all agree that the pulls inside of combat, especially on tanks, are the ones that people fuck up the most because people can't read what the tank wants to do. The outside of combat pulls onto tanks are actually reasonably good because they're more location-based, pulling people to high ground, pulling people to interesting places, pulling people to good angles. Yeah, basically our change is infinitely better than this, and this like cleanse is just, it's just bad, man. Like so annoying. At least it's not ever going to be used. Yeah, at least it's not ever going to be used. Lucio plays a unique role with the support lineup, offering strong mobility and team utility. However, his healing output has been lagging behind other supports, especially with the increase to hero health pools. The change makes his passive healing more impactful and better aligned with other support heroes. So that's increased from 16 to 20 health per second. So minus 5%, so it's like a 2 health per second buff, right? Yeah, so it's a little buff. As I say, the year is 2030. Lucio's healing aura heals for 500 health per second. The DPS healing reduction passive has been increased to 90%. Lucio's base health is 500. He's seen the Lucio change and his immediate reaction was just, this is a DPS change, so don't buff the DPS passive. It's just so weird, right? Like, why are you flipping the table for no reason? I guess that's my question. Like, why are you flipping the table? The reason why they changed the DPS passive seems to be no other reason than literally just, I'll just whatever. I'll just make it so the DPS are better, like buff the entire role. But realistically, that's just such a bad way to go about it. It's so bad. Let's tweak a number and see if that improves something. We want to boost Moira's overall healing output so she doesn't offer as much direct utility compared to other support heroes, and we're reducing some healing impact with this patch through the damage roll passive. We're happy with the cadence of managing her healing resource and swapping to damage to restore it, so we opted to adjust her direct healing rather than the resources availability or a similar mechanic. So they're trying to keep Moira the same while nerfing Anna, Juno, Baptiste. What did Zen ever do to you, I guess is the question. What did Mercy ever do to you? Were they really the problematic characters? I just don't think they realize that when they increase the DPS passive, it affects the small healers more than it affects the big healers. So even if you're shuffling around the big healers, do you know how you could have done that instead? You could have done that just by nerfing the big healers, right? Buff DPS passive because nothing dies, buff healing to compensate for things being unable to die. All of this is randomly bad decisions. I don't think it's all randomly bad decisions, but definitely the healing buffs and nerfs seem like arbitrary. Then increase converted damage from 30 to 40% on his perk. Sure, I mean it's fine, yeah. It was a bad perk because the point of Zen's Harmony Orb was that it's reliable healing, and just giving it Lunar Snow's Orb's effect on top of it was just bad. I want to hit my head against a wall. So basically, this is utterly terrible, really bad for the game in general, really awful, just like so bad, just unbelievably bad. I've already talked about it, so I can only get so mad because it genuinely does not make me want to play the game anymore. That's how bad it is. It is so bad, and I'm a support player, and I don't want to play support. That's essentially where I'm at. Base health regen, I have no idea why you're doing it. Still no idea whatsoever. Junker Queen, straight buff, whatever. You gave her a straight buff, I don't care. At least you reduce the cooldown at the same time so it can be used more aggressively. Mauga, fine. This, fine, but the other perk is so strong that this perk right here would have to be overly oppressive in order to be the same level. Zarya, that was already really good and it's getting even better, so Zarya's just going to dominate now? Is that really what we plan to do? Graviton Crush was already the better perk in the majority of team-based scenarios, so like, what are we doing? Bastion, fine, probably healthy, bad for the kind of like idea of the game, generalizes the hero to a ludicrous degree. Echo, oh, we didn't do the maths on this. 1.96 over 1.1111. The 70% reduction in spread. In radius spread. Yeah. So the spread is radial. So essentially, what's happening is you have the middle here, and then you have 1, 2, 3. This 1.4 used to be there, and now is significantly lower. So basically, we've made it so there's a smaller circle, and the smaller circle is like here. So the actual area of this has been reduced significantly with a small radius change. I have a theory. I think the balance team have been swapping out with competent people to prevent the game from getting better. Okay, all right. Okay, dude. You say you can't notice that? Who said they can't notice that in chat? Jeez. You can't notice that. Yeah, you can't notice the spread. Are you crazy? That is so much tighter. It's 70% tighter. You can like that bot down there. Sure, I can't hit it, but I can consistently hit like all three. Actually, that's just hitting all three on the bot. It's a couple with everything, right? The Hanzo, arrow speed, the Genji, Shuriken speed, like all of these, like the Reaper, AoE changes. It's all just 5v5 changes. Like it's all just making it so their new game mode can work properly. How much of a difference is 6 damage buff on Tracer? Because I wasn't here. It's obtusely OP. And a bit closer. So about there's going to be lethal with a full clip and no headshots. So yeah, it's a really big buff. I mean, it's a 9% buff to damage. It's crazy. It's just insane. It's obtuse, and basically you will always have to pick healing heroes against it. Reaper, Reaper's only received a small buff. That was a lot smaller, but I think Reaper was already pretty bad. Phara direct hit, I don't really mind. And then we have the Reaper and Tracer stuff, which is just absurd. Obviously, the soldier stuff is good. I just skipped straight over that. Venture's fine. This does nothing. This is just buffs to counter the nerfs. I mean, hey, the buffs the nerfs. The idea is that, oh, we'll just be balancing everything. Nothing slipped through the cracks, guys. I'm sure there's nothing slipping through the cracks right now. What are you on about? No, it's fine. What are you on about? No, nothing's slipping through the cracks. It's not like Mercy is ridiculously bad at triage healing now. Oh, man. Oh, yeah. So let's just go through them, okay? Let's just go through them. So Kiriko has received buffs to healing through the perk that gives extra healing. Juno got released with very high healing. Elysium got made it so her healing can go longer range, so it's a lot more easy to use and receives significant buffs to her right-click healing. Brig received 25 direct hit buff on every single pack she uses, and a perk that increases the healing by that to 50 per buff. Baptiste, I think it's been changed around a lot recently, but he already was quite high, and obviously got Lamp. Anna was already on 83.33 and has stayed hit there for ages, but the utility of aggressive, so I guess Anna's the one that's got nerfed the most by all these changes. Lifeweaver, Lifeweaver gets significantly nerfed by this. He already had very low healing to begin with. Lucio's got compensatory buffs. Despite the fact he's honestly had quite low healing, so it's probably good to give him compensatory buff, but at the same point, why are you doing it in the first place? Mercy's been absolutely shafted by this entire thing. I mean, but they have received complimentary 5 HPS from 55 to 60. Moira's receiving complimentary healing buffs, and then Zen's been left dead in the ditch behind the shed. This series of awful changes is exactly how Dota got crippled in 2016 and eventually fell into irrelevancy in 2020. I genuinely wonder why other people are angry at it, because I am concerned that they're angry at it for the wrong reasons. Make the core mode unplayable to promote Stadium. The thing is that the change are so small constantly. He's not a fan of the damage passive either. I genuinely wonder why he's not a fan of the damage passive, apart from it destabilizing everything. I think that's his main problem with it, the fact they destabilize everything and things get left behind, but still. Overwatch 3 will be 100% poke only, and if you play another cell, you'll be banned on the spot. Yeah, I need to respond to you on your Genji is bad and Kiriko can 2-tap, etc. takes. It's going to be a fun one. The Elysium beam range is a sleeper strong buffs. Like on Circuit, I was able to heal from 3rd point high ground. Oh, Elysium beam range is massive. It's an attempt to give the role a strict identity. He's more interested in the role being more loosely defined as opposed to forcing everything to be just deal damage, deny healing. More loosely defined. The role is already defined as something that is more sharp, less telegraphed, more lethal, right? If I put Baptiste in the same place that I could put a soldier, and then I provide support to them, Baptiste is significantly less lethal than soldier. That's the point of DPS, right? That's the whole idea. That does not mean that Baptiste can't or shouldn't win a fight against soldier. Okay, that's my argument, and that's why Greed's wrong about everything.